أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Oh Lord, provide us the goodness of whatever this world offers and help us see what it points to and protect us from falsehood and meaninglessness. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy Saturday. Inshallah everybody is doing wonderful. We're provided with the new existence every moment, every day, every week, every year. Inshallah, may we make the best of all the opportunities that are given to us so we can fulfill the purpose of our existence, inshallah. And today we will continue from the 15th ray on page 629, which really was walking us through how mysterious this universe is. And definitely something mysterious does convey a message and points to the author of the universe. And let's pick up from the 4th and 5th steps. Page 629. Through the mysteries of necessity, total detachment, and complete otherness of essence, and the mysteries of unrestrictedness, not being bound by space and indivisibility. So through the mysteries of necessity, total detachment, and complete otherness of essence, and the mysteries of unrestrictedness, not being bound by space and indivisibility. So referring to the qualities of something that is not bound by space, contrary to what I observe within myself, or something that's unrestricted in its nature, contrary to what I observe here, where our lifespan obviously are restricted. We are all subject to change. And okay, so let's see what the author here is proposing. It being very difficult to express the reality of these two steps to everyone, their meaning will be explained in one or two, excuse me. It being very difficult to express the reality of these two steps to everyone, their meaning will be explained in one or two very brief points. That is, in relation to the power of an absolutely powerful one, whose existence is at the degree of necessity, the most powerful and stable of the degree of existence, and is pre-eternal and post-eternal, and who's totally detached from and free of materiality, and whose holy nature is totally different to all other natures. In relation to his power, the stars are like the minute particles and the resurrection of the dead like the spring, and to raise to life all men at the resurrection is as easy as raising to life a single soul. So it being very difficult to express the reality of these two steps to everyone, their meaning will be explained in one or two very brief points. That is, in relation to the power of an absolutely powerful one whose existence is at the degree of necessity. SubhanAllah, this is interesting that like that's the first step. The existence of a creator of the universe, that's a must. Necessity by the definition, this universe must have an existence giver. Now, the most powerful and stable of the degree of existence, and is pre-eternal and post-eternal, and who is totally detached from and free of materiality. This is an interesting point as well. Who is totally detached from and free of materiality. Unlike what I am subject to, or what I experience here is definitely I'm subject to a conscious will, order, connection with the material side, and so whose holy nature is totally different to all other natures, whose holy nature is totally different to all other natures. In relation to his power, the stars are like the minute particles, and the resurrection of the dead like the spring. What does that mean? And the resurrection of the dead, oh yeah, of course, like the spring, and to raise to life all men at the resurrection is as easy as raising to life a single soul. And to raise to life all men at the resurrection is as easy as raising to life a single soul. Oh wow, okay. So everything is just all happening at once. There's no like order that's being followed, like, hey, number one, number two, number three. No. Just either it is B and it is, or it's, nothing. For as much as a fingernail from the levels of existence that are powerful may hold a mountain from an insubstantial level of existence. For as much as a fingernail from the levels of existence that are powerful may hold a mountain from an insubstantial level of existence and may manipulate it. So something so tiny as a fingernail, as far as its existence is concerned, may hold a mountain from an insubstantial level of existence and may manipulate it. So let's see the example here and try to understand. For example, a mirror and faculty of memory from the level of powerful external existence may hold 100 mountains and 1,000 books from the level of existence of the world of similitude. So, for example, a mirror and faculty of memory from the level of powerful external existence may hold 100 mountains and 1,000 books from the level of existence of the worlds of similitudes and non-material existence, which are weak and insubstantial, and they may have disposal over them. So, for example, a mirror and a faculty of memory from the level of powerful. Do you understand what is being said? If you wanna, so this is sit down.
I think he's giving some examples on how, because there's no likeness of what the absolute is. That's the thing. Right? Wallahi al-masalul a'la. There's no example like that. But to make our minds understand a little bit, on how we can visualize it a little bit, but there is, of course, no comparison to what that absoluteness entails. So it's more like some examples of the material world, the manifest world that we see in this world. So your memory, like imagine even like the brain and the one little dot in the memory can hold so much information, as the scientists would say. Which is by itself a miracle, if you think about it. How can that little thing have that much capacity to hold such imagery and such data available? And if you look at the physical phones and the machines, little chips are able to hold so much information data.
No, thank you. Okay, so for example, a mirror and faculty of memory from the level of powerful external existence may hold 100 mountains and 1,000 books. From the level of existence of the, of the world of similitudes and non-material existence, which are weak and insubstantial, and they may have disposal over them. Oh, I see what you mean now. Thus, however, inferior as regards to power, the level of existence of the world of similitude is to the level of external existence. The created accidental existences of contingent beings are thousands of times more inferior and weaker than a pre-eternal, everlasting, necessary existence, so that through the manifestation of a particle, thus, however inferior as regards to power, the level of existence of the world of similitude is to the level of external existence, the created, I get it. Accidental existences of contingent beings are thousands of times more inferior and weaker than a pre-eternal, everlasting, necessary existence, so that through the manifestation of a particle, he can manipulate a world from the worlds of contingent beings. Okay, so this like, so going back to what you said about really making the comparisons from things coming from a world of similitude to what I observe here. Did you know what accidental existences are? I'm not quite familiar with this technical word. I may have some idea, but so maybe the created piece here, the created beings are thousands of times more inferior. Yeah, okay. Since there exists, so that through the manifest particle, he can manipulate a world from the worlds of contingent beings. So through the manifestation of a particle, he can manipulate a world from the worlds of contingent beings. I'm not sure what this paragraph refers to, but go ahead.
Accident in terms of contingent.
In terms of contingent, or being dependent. So created beings. So like this universe is an accidental occurrence. So it's like a technical word. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so even as far as that, the created accident are thousands of times more inferior and weaker than a pre-eternal everlasting necessary existence. So that through the manifestation of a particle, he can manipulate. Oh, I see what's going on here. A world from the worlds of contingent. I don't get the last piece here. So that through the manifestation of a particle, he can manipulate a world from the worlds of contingent beings. Oh, I see. Okay. So just like a small, because we find ourselves here in this contingent world with the sea world, the universe, the sky world, the green world, I mean, forests and so on, the mountain world, the human world, everything. So a small, what do you say? A small particle, how a small particle is utilized to manipulate a a world of contingency. Yeah, because we live in a contingent world. So let's take the example of a seed. Definitely a seed is just like anything here is contingent, is in need to be given existence, dependent, and so how that can manipulate a whole world, so like a whole ecosystem, and so on. Regrettably, for the time being, three important reasons do not permit me to explain this lengthy truth and its fine points in full. So we refer it to the Risala Nur in another time. Okay, I'll pause here and check in to see if anybody wants to add anything. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
Yeah, everybody should share it. Our friends are not really willing to say anything, but of course we have to really think about this matter, although it seems to be easy to say Allah is powerful over everything and get away with it. I don't think it would be a satisfactory answer. At the same time, we too have to understand what we mean when we refer the existence of this world, which is described here as accidental, external existence, accidental existence, contingent existence, etc. These are the descriptions of this created world. On the other side of the coin, necessary existence. And the example is given here through the word of similitude. How are we going to use this example that anything of the word of similitude can comprehend endless things at the same time? By the way, the word of similitude is also a created different kinds of not material, but non-material created form of existence, another type of existence, but it is a kind of, again, necessary, accidental existence or contingent existence, as related to the necessary existence, which is absolute in its nature. So how are we going to, as the text says, how are we going to relate these two completely different nature of existence to each other? How are we going to really connect it? I think the example of the word of similitude is used as a part of, as an example of this, within this universe, as a part of this universe, it is what that we can have access to. Similarly, the word of similitude, we can simplify this word of similitude, the meaning of the things, which is again used here as an example, used here, the brain, the memory, human memory, the learning capacity is an example of the word of similitude. All these vocabulary must be separately studied, and then we can try to make sense of all this. First of all, the human memory memorize or contains, although it is just a few cells, maybe one cell, I don't know, but doesn't matter. It's very, as far as the external existence, material existence, is concerned, material existence of the memory is concerned, it is so small, one cell, like the chips that they are producing nowadays in technology. They contain hundreds of volumes of books of knowledge in it. But materially, it is very small. This is just an example. Where this example is given now, within the external world, within the contingent world. My memory is created, and the books are created, and the knowledge, information is created in this world. So this can be used as an analogy to understand the relationship between the nature of the differences of the nature of existences or level of existences. Just a warming up the human mind to get familiar with this relationship. For example, the brain, or not the whole brain, but it's a small amount of 1 or 2 cells, I don't know, whatever they say, of the brain remembers or contains 100 volumes of books. This information is there. So the word of similitude contains the meaning of the whole universe, which we say manifestations of the qualities of its creator. All the meanings are contained in word of similitude, in the word of similitude. So the knowledge, all the creation, which is the kind of knowledge, is contained in this existence level, another existence level. For example, my body has another existence level, my feelings have another existence level, and information, knowledge has another level of existence, and the matter has another level of existence, the relationship. So from there, using this analogy, the author is really trying to understand, explain to himself, to us, by saying very difficult to express the reality of these 2 steps of everyone, or their meaning will be explained in whatever it is. So it is extremely important and difficult at the same time. Farah asks a question. My answer is very quick. Answer is no. Ghaib is absolute. Ghaib is necessary existence. In this time, in this term. But for example, in other form of the word of similitude, you can say the pure manifestations of the qualities of the creator in the world as they are manifested here. So we should we should really see it in another kind of existence, as far as I understand. God's knowledge is manifested, they say, in traditional sources. God's knowledge is preserved in the word of similitude, alem-i mithal. Everything has its counter existence in the word of similitude, alem-i mithal, which means, for example, let's think of a creature, I don't know, let's say a squirrel. All the qualities manifested in the squirrel is, if you like, preserved in the word of similitude. Why do we need to use this term? We cannot say that it is in the mind of God, because we cannot attribute mind to God as if likening it to a human being. So that is another way of explaining it. Explaining, if you want to use this term without any hesitation, it is what is in the mind of God that he is creating. Of course, the term is wrong. That is why this Alem-i Mithal is coined, if you like, in order to say that this universe exists externally, but their meaning must be preserved somewhere. It means reflected in somewhere. That is, as far as I understand, the word of similitude. Why is it important? The comparison. Word of similitude may be only an atom. It is possible, because in an atom, you can load whole the meaning of the universe in it, because it doesn't really, information doesn't really contain any space. As we understand, only external existence contains space as we observe it. In reality, the meaning has no space in this world, but we have to explain it by using a term. Now, what the author is trying to explain here, as far as I can make of it, the relationship between the necessary existence and contingent existence, or accidental existence, or external existence to her, is, or by definition, must be just the opposite. That's what nowadays people call about black holes, dark energy, and everything has its own antimatter. This is how the human beings make sense of existence. These are human endeavors to understand and explain how the universe is coming into existence, or existing according to them. They have to use these terms. As far as I know, there may be something: black hole, dark energy, and antimatter. What else? And when you ask them, it is interesting. When you ask them, what is the black hole? We don't know what it is, but we are sure it must exist. Correct. What is dark energy? We don't know what it is, but we are sure it must exist, because equation necessitates it in order to make the equation work. Dark matter is the same. And also empty universe. This is just newly introduced concept. The universe, this universe that we are observing here, and its counterpart is empty universe. That's what they say. They have to say. But what we say, for example, that is theoretically correct, because every matter has its counterpart representing its reality in the word of similitude. If we can dare to use the vocabulary, which is not right, but dare to use in the quality of God himself, it is there. Their counterpart, the reality of this matter, this external existence, the counterpart of this external existence exists in the reality, essence of the necessary existence, which is necessary existence is by definition nothing to do with this word, but where this word comes from, it is counterpart, if you like. This is the source of existence which we call God, the creator. So we only know in this reality of this world within the universe, we only know accidental existence, which is external existence, and definitely to make the equation, in order to understand the existence, we have to definitely have to conclude that this is coming from another type of existence, which is called necessary existence. Or earlier on, Asim said that absolute existence. Although we don't know the essence of absolute existence, but we are absolutely sure it is existence. That's what this materialist people say. Although we don't know the essence of black hole, but equation necessitates that black hole must exist, antimatter must exist, empty universe must exist, and dark matter must exist. Do you see what I mean? So, I hope it helps us to understand that although everything is other way around, the relationship between this universe and concluding that there must be a black hole, there must be antimatter, we do the same thing. Looking at this universe, we conclude that there must be a source of existence. And this is just, if you like, it is anti-side of it. It means this is contingent, that must be essential. This is accidental, that this must be essential. The counterpart must be essential. These are by definition. We have to understand that we cannot really come to or reach the idea of God without looking at the nature of this universe. We have to look at this universe and understand that it requires, necessitates a necessarily existent being whose essence is just the opposite of this contingent existence. That defines perfectly what absolute creator or absolute being means. Although we defined it with its counterpart, which is the universe, it works. And it is logically necessary to accept it. That is why this very difficult subject, as the author says, we can make sense of it, at least logically satisfied that such a being must exist. So that we call it belief in ghaib, in this sense, because this sense is at the existential level. At the existential level, ghaib is the only one whose existence is necessary. It means absolute. But in practical terms, because we don't know, we have not experienced the, for example, word of similitude or the next creation, we call it next creation, but for the absolute being, it is already existing. It must be already existing, the paradise and hell, and we see the counterpart of it in our practical life now. Happiness, inconsistency, and pain in contradiction in our own human feelings. We see the pain. If I see that I am nothing, I am a meaningless being, that is the pain we don't like to be. And also when I say I belong to an absolute source, I feel secure and the pleasant feeling follows it. This is also a reflection of paradise and hell. So these are, they call it ghaib nisbi. It means they are ghaib, but this is just relative ghaib. Relative to what? Relative to this material external existence of the universe. But ghaib mutlaq, al-ghaibul mutlaq, which is God, this is not relative. This is logical conclusion and necessary conclusion. Otherwise, we cannot make an equation. The universe cannot be explainable and get an equation which works perfectly. So you can explain the existence of this universe. I don't know, this is all this time that I spent and I wasted for you, worth it or not. It's a very important subject that we have to feel fully comfortable about it. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. That was very helpful. Definitely a lot of points to contemplate over. I mean, even whatever we conclude about our experiences here, pretty much definitely there is a logical side to everything, and then at the same time, like you were saying, the relative side as well, which really speaks to me as a human being. And pretty much I think when in our interaction, when we are able to, we all decipher meaning all the time, but when we're able to make this connection of where's this meaning coming from, or just like the example of the faculty of memory, like really where's everything stored, or even just like Asim gave the example of technology, like the smallest chip or something can store, my goodness, how much amount of, like a huge amount of data. Just like really makes you wonder about this other dimension of existence that we have access to here. And so from here on, it's definitely all contingent, and like what does it all point to? And so just points to definitely an absolute source of knowledge and wisdom. Just some rough thoughts, but definitely something to think more on, I would say, because for the author to be even mentioning all this, I mean, it's just not something to be taken loosely. Inshallah, we should be getting very familiar and acquainted with these technical words as well. So like world of similitudes, we said points to meaning. And then we definitely hear it in religious texts like, oh, the angelic side. And every moment we are extracting meaning. And excuse me, accidental existences definitely points to this contingent sphere we are in. So I think be more comfortable with the language used here and the meaning, then we should, inshallah, make better discernment about a necessarily existent one. I will just give in a few seconds if anybody wants to add anything or share some thoughts. Okay, then we can move on to the sixth step, I would say. Sixth step. Through the mystery of the transformation of obstacles and impediments into means of facility. Through the mystery of the transformation of obstacles and impediments into means of facility. This reminds me of the verse, with every difficulty comes ease. I don't know, that's what it seems like here. Just any obstacle or impediment, something that may seem as such, it's pretty much a means to facilitate something. But let's see what the author has in mind here. Through a law of the manifestation of divine will, called in science the knot of life. Through a law of the manifestation of divine will, called in science the knot of life, and of the creational command, and through the command and will being turned towards them, the unconscious branches and hard twigs of a huge tree do not form obstacles or impediments to the necessary substances and foods which pass to its fruits, leaves, and flowers from the knot of life, which is like the tree's main spring and stomach. Indeed, they facilitate the process. So, through a law of the manifestation of divine will, called in science the knot of life, like knot as in everything is so interconnected, and of the creational command, as in it's the order or the laws of principles, or that we see here, and through the command and will being turned towards them, the unconscious branches and hard twigs of a huge tree do not form obstacles or impediments to the necessary substances and foods which pass to its fruits, leaves, and flowers from the knot of life, which is like the tree's mainspring and stomach. So pretty much the order that we observe here, I think, things are coming in existence by obeying or following a perfect order. And so this knot of life, or this principle of interconnectedness, I'm not sure, maybe I'm just like speaking out loud here, which is like the tree's mainspring and stomach, which is what is like the tree's mainspring and stomach. Okay. Indeed, they facilitate the process. Well, let me see. So yeah, so let's take the unconscious branches and hard twigs of a huge tree. I mean, it do not form obstacles or impediment to the necessary substances and food which pass to its fruits. Obviously, there's kind of nutrients coming in. Leaves and flowers from the knot of life, which is like the tree's mainspring and stomach. Oh, I see what's going on here. So, just an analogy of how, there's some nutrition that is being flown in from the leaves or the roots, branches, and so on to the flower or fruits of a tree. All of this facilitate the process of the fruit coming into existence. In just the same way, since all potential obstacles in the creation of the universe and creatures cease being obstacles in the face of a manifestation of will and regard of the dominical command and become means of facility, eternal power creates the universe and all the species of creatures on the earth as easily as creating a single tree. In just the same way, since all potential obstacles in the creation of the universe and creatures cease being obstacles in the face of a manifestation of will and regard of the dominical command and become means of facility, eternal power creates the universe and all the species of creatures on the earth as easily as creating a single tree. Nothing at all is difficult for it. If all those acts of creation are not ascribed to that power, then the creation and administration of the single tree would be as difficult If all those acts of creation are not ascribed to that power, then the creation and administration of the single tree would be as difficult as the creation and administration of all trees, indeed, as the universe. Yeah, and the author mentions this a lot. Let me read this again. If all those acts of creation are not ascribed to that power, then the creation and administration of the single tree would be as difficult as the creation and administration of all trees, indeed, as the universe. For then everything would become obstacles and obstructions. And if all causes were together, they could not send the necessary sustenance to the fruits. Wow, leaves, branches, and twigs in orderly, regular fashion from the stomach and mainspring of a tree's knot of life, which proceeds from command and will. Unless all the parts of the tree and all its particles even were given an eye, all-encompassing knowledge and wondrous power which would see the entire tree together with its part and particles and know them and assist them. So for then everything would become obstacles and obstructions, and if all causes were together, they could not send the necessary sustenance to the fruits, leaves, branches, and twigs in orderly, regular fashion from the stomach and mainspring of a tree's knot of life, which proceeds from command and will. Unless all the parts of the tree and all its particles, even for given an eye, all-encompassing knowledge and wondrous power, which would see the entire tree together with its parts and particles, and know them and assist them. This is very interesting, pretty much. We can also apply the case to ourselves as well. Within our body, everything is so interconnected as well. I think speaking in terms of absolute will, how, it's just being it is, everything comes into existence. For me to observe just as easily, it's not that, the creation of an ant is difficult or easier than the creation of an elephant. No, it's just a creation of one tree is the same as the creation of 1,000 trees. So that's a very interesting point to ponder over. It speaks about the absoluteness of this necessarily existent one, really. Because from what we observe, as far as in our experiences here, even with ourselves, just making something like a human, we cannot really multitask. Human beings, you're doing one thing at a time, and you may automate something, but like here we're talking about how existence is coming into being. Anything creation is coming into being. It's marvelous, actually. Like without any difficulty, just ease. Okay, let's conclude here, and maybe we can revisit this again next week, inshallah. So climb these 5 steps and take a look. See what difficulties, indeed impossibilities, are present in unbelief and associating partners with God, and how distant they are from reason and logic, and how precluded they are. Then see what ease there is on the way of the Quran, indeed, that its facility is at the degree of necessity. Wow, its facilities at the degree of necessity, and how acceptable and reasonable it is, and what certain and satisfying truth is found on its way, so certain as to be necessary. Understand this and say, all praise be to God for the bounty of belief. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The difficulties I was suffering and my indisposition caused the remaining part of this important step to be postponed. Alrighty, I'll just take a pause here and see if anybody wants to share any closing remarks, final comments. Go ahead, Ali Murmur.
Now, we don't have much time, and I know you need rest. May Allah give you shifa, inshallah, healing soon. I think this example of this knot of life, Uqdatul Hayatiyya, it is interesting. Excuse me. Yeah. Did you hear the beginning?
No, now we can hear you. So you're talking about knot of life.
Knot of life. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get rid of this hand there. So we have to notice that if everything is attributed to the life, which is not matter at all. So all the material things, rather than being an obstacle to support and increase the material growth of the body, if it is attributed to life, because of life, these matters, rather than being an obstacle, they become a vehicle to support the existence of body and to make it grow and get the energy. This example says, if you try to understand the existence of matter, you have to refer it to something which is not matter. Matter can only be an obstacle of another matter. For example, if you put an object somewhere, you cannot put another object in its own place. So it is an obstacle for the other material object to be in the same place at the same time. Whereas if we really refer the activities of the body, all the cells of the body, to the life, this is called knot of life. It means source of life there. For example, the example is given a seed of a, let's say, watermelon. Now, the material side is different. It is not really the subject of the discussion, but the life in it. If you attribute the activities of the growth of the cells and getting their sustenances from the other matters through the function of life, then you can explain it, because life is not a matter. You can explain it. I mean, it is somehow related to the previous step that we studied, this fourth and fifth step. There also we said, if we attribute the existence of this material world and the contingent world to an absolute world, which is not the accidental world but necessary existence, then it becomes easy to explain how it came into existence at once. The universe is continuously changing, but every moment the whole universe is changing at once, at the same time. And the necessarily existent one, or whose existence is necessary, not contingent, can make it. Otherwise, any contingent being cannot make it. You cannot explain the existence of the universe as we are experiencing it. Exactly the same way here, the life, the source of life is applied here. If you attribute the growth of the watermelon plant to the life inside the seed, then you can explain it. Otherwise, by attributing the growth of the plant of watermelon to its material atoms or cells, the cell cannot really produce another cell and make it grow the body in a perfect way. You cannot explain it, because matter cannot give birth to another thing, another matter. Only an obstacle. There can be obstacle, not a vehicle. But through the life, then the cell can split because of the function of the life, which is not matter. Exactly, if you want to explain the existence of this material world, contingent world, you have to attribute it to a thing, a source of existence, which is not matter, which is not contingent, which is not of the same nature of the universe itself, just to opposite whatever it is, but must be the opposite. Life is the opposite of matter. This analogy really is interesting, that we have to bear in mind. Of course, the time is up. I'm sorry, I spoke a lot at the same time, but the other friends are just keeping quiet. I don't know why, but they should share. It is an exciting subject. How do you explain the existence of this matter? Just simply saying by God is not the solution. You cannot convince anybody, including yourself. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Brother Ali, for these final comments and remarks. Definitely, this notion of life is also something to ponder over. We may loosely use it, take it for granted, but subhanAllah, there's like a whole life within the tiniest seed, and how a plant or a shoot or a fruit comes into existence from our observation of all these. So life everywhere. And yeah, we cannot attribute it to a matter or anything of this universe. Alhamdulillah. Thank you all for joining us in, and inshallah next Saturday we will continue on with the 7th step in discovering how mysterious our universe is. Until then, inshallah, be well everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alim al-hakim. Glory be unto you, we have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you're all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru dawahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati sirri suratil Fatiha.